that let's start from the top. Like I said, I'm just kind of getting acclimated to a new area that I'm setting up for YouTube. So I haven't really completed my background. Right now, I'm using my photo from my drone shot that I've captured. And let's go ahead and get into it. So basically, what I was saying is with everything that's been going on, I posted a community tab post where I asked people if they would be interested in talking about like what it's like to be Black in America versus traveling Black and abroad. And few people wanted to talk about it, so that's why I am going live tonight. And I wrote this article. It's on my blog, and what prompted it is one of my family members that I was talking to stated that they couldn't believe that I would travel to all these different countries. They said, I wouldn't want to be a target in a different country where I'm far away from home. And I replied to that family member, I'm a target in the U.S. So, I don't really see what the difference is. I'd rather be traveling abroad and not living in fear. And versus here in America, you've seen what's happened, unfortunately, with the victims that were in Buffalo. When I wrote this article, I basically wrote it when the Charleston shooting happened and just kind of reflecting on it, because at the time of the Charleston shooting, I was actually in Thailand. And just waking up, Thailand several hours ahead, waking up to that news, it just made me sick. I was traveling with a bunch of other Black women. We're in Thailand, and here we are seeing this news. And while we're in Thailand, we have people like following us around, calling us, of course, celebrity names, trying to take our picture and stuff like that. And, back home in the U.S., you could just be followed around just for shopping. Just growing up in the South, could drive Northwest Georgia and run into racism. There's just a lot of different interesting signs and stores that you can see if you go up 75 North in Georgia. I remember going to a mountains trip in Georgia, in Northwest Georgia, and was met with not very friendly people. I also lived in North Carolina for some time and have been pulled over just for something. It wasn't even like, it was very ridiculous. Pulled over, and I was with another Black coworker, and I've witnessed racism in North Carolina and in Georgia. So it's very unfortunate what's happened. But I say that to say that when people are kind of like, when people tell you shouldn't travel out of the country because it's dangerous. Yeah, there's definitely dangerous areas. There's dangerous areas in the U.S. But I would say when you compare, what's happening as a Black American, I'm not going to say like I'm not traveling out of the U.S. because it's more dangerous out of the country, when there's things like what's happened in Buffalo, what's happening, unfortunately, all the time to Black Americans, that I can't just say I'm not going to travel out of the country because it's safer in the U.S., because it's not. So I would say to you, let me know, have you heard these things from family members or friends that have kind of discouraged you from traveling? I just want to know, have you heard these same things too? Because I hear that often, especially from family members. I hear it often from some people that are even in the comments of some of my videos where I talk about traveling solo. You just have to be mindful of your surroundings. You have to travel smart, and you have to understand that there are dangerous places everywhere. But so I really just wanted to talk about that article. I do have super chats enabled. If you're watching the replay, you can send a thanks. But I really wanted to kind of have like some dialogue going. So I see a few people are watching. Let me know if you have experienced this. What are your thoughts on, are you afraid to travel abroad versus do you feel more comfortable traveling in the U.S., or is it the complete opposite? I do have a video where I talk about some of the cities I recommend for Black travelers within the U.S. And then I have a video of cities that I recommend or destinations that I recommend for international for Black solo travelers. So those are a couple of things. But I also want to just reiterate and emphasize that just because everyone's experience is going to be different, especially when you're talking about Black Americans versus African travelers. Those are going to be different experiences. And also, it's going to be different where people just assume, like, hey, I felt safe traveling there, but someone else might not feel safe traveling those destinations. But it's all in, like, you have to understand that you always have to pay attention to your surroundings. You have to understand that there are, with every destination, you're going to have unsafe areas. So it's up to you to do additional research and understand. Okay, so I just want to make sure, let me know where you're watching from, and make sure that let me know that you can hear me okay. Like I said, I had some technical issues earlier, but we're on track now. And also just kind of comparing being in the US. Like I said, I live in Georgia. Even today, I can see some places that I will not go because it's very racist there. North Carolina, especially South Carolina. Like, I've been through all these different parts of the Southeast, either living or having to travel for work through these areas. And I definitely experience it. But then some of the places that I kind of enjoyed while traveling abroad, I definitely enjoyed going to Zimbabwe and Zambia. So I went to Victoria Falls. Some of the places that I did not feel very like welcomed, definitely Italy, definitely. So it's different though, because Italy, it's a very nice place to visit, but I would not say like Italians are that friendly, at least where I can, the ones I come across. Let's see, London. I did not have a good experience in London. And I'm trying to think which other ones I didn't really have a good experience in. I know, like, going to some of the Caribbean islands, I have come across some Americans that kind of display some of the same things that are back home in the US. So I have had some run-ins with not so friendly run-ins. I can think of one that was in Turks and Caicos. But let's see. Amanda Waller's checking in. Yeah, so definitely let me know. Have you guys had this experience where family members or friends are telling you not to travel out of the country because it's more dangerous? Like I said, when you look at all the news that's going on, the constant killing of Black people just for hate and all of that, there's no way I can just stay within the US to travel unless, like, there's just not, for me, it's no way. So I try to travel to different places, and I don't let that fear of holding me back, because if I let that fear hold me back, I'd just be in the US. And just with all that's going on, this is not a safe place for Black people. Okay, so Ishra, sorry if I'm mispronouncing your name. Ishra Sharon said, I'm surprised about Italy. A lot of Black people rave about it. Like I said, it's interesting. Like, I will go back to Italy, but they were not friendly. And I don't know if that's just in general, but very beautiful place. But like, in general, especially, like, I noticed this in Barcelona and some places, especially in Rome, like, the men were very rude. At least that's what I saw. So like I said, everyone's has a different experience. I definitely have heard that in Europe, some areas of Europe are not that friendly if you're like from an African country. So I don't know if there is some confusion as far as, like, when Black Americans go over there, whatever. But I did not see a lot of friendly, other than like my tour guides. My tour guides, of course, were awesome. But like I said, like I'll go back to Italy, but I definitely noticed that they weren't like as friendly as some of the European destinations. London, I talked about in that in some of my other videos. It it was not like my favorite place. That's one place that I'm not in a hurry to get back at all. Let's see. The U.S. has never been a safe place for Black people. I traveled in Mexico and felt safe. Cool. Like I have yet to be. I have gone. I went to Mexico. Actually, I went to Cozumel on a cruise. I was there for like very quickly. I was supposed to go to Cancun. I want to say 2020 or 2021, one of those years during the pandemic. And for my birthday, and Delta actually canceled the cruise, or not the cruise, sorry, my flight, and haven't been able to book it. I am looking for places to go for my birthday again, which is in June. But have y'all seen the flight prices? Like it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. So I talk about in another video like some ways to get cheap flight prices, and then there's also the book now, pay later options. So I'm still kind of thinking about where I want to go for my birthday in June, but it's ridiculous. I think a lot of these companies, of course, with the gas prices rising, but like a lot of these companies are trying to recoup what was lost in these past couple of years. Shalise Ransom says, I've heard about Paris. You heard good or you heard bad? That one's kind of like, I've heard varying things. I enjoyed Paris. I will say when I visited, like this was during when Trump was in administration, a lot of people did not, a lot of people that I came across, they were just like, oh, we love you guys, but we hate Trump. And then when some of the people found out I was from Atlanta, like they even knew Stacey Abrams. They were like, we love Stacey Abrams. So yeah, so let's see. Shalise says she heard that they don't like Black people. So yeah, like I said, it's very up in the air with that. And that's why I say, like, you have to do your research. You have to do what you're comfortable with. And everyone's experience is going to be different. Like I said, Black American travelers versus people from African countries, oftentimes they're very different experiences. So sometimes when you hear about destinations that don't like Black people, unfortunately, it just depends on where you're from. But at the end of the day, they don't know where you're from unless probably they talk to you. So it's just in general, you might come across that. So like I said, it's definitely varying things I've heard about Paris. But I enjoy Paris and I plan to go back. During that trip, I went to London, Paris, and Brussels at the same time. And like I said, I don't have to go back to London anytime soon. Very rude. Both of the hotels I stayed in, rude. Some of the restaurants I went in, rude. I definitely remember going to London and going to a bar, and it was a mostly white bar, and one of the guys tried to stop us from going in, and he wasn't even working at the restaurant. He's just being a jerk, basically. Let's see. Ishra'al Sharon says, I feel some way about London, especially after Meghan Markle and yeah. Yeah. Let's see. Amanda Waller says, nobody has told me not to travel because of fear of violence, but being solo and a woman. Yeah, I definitely I definitely get that a lot, especially when I travel solo. My family definitely doesn't agree with me traveling solo, but in general, they don't really. My family definitely looks at all the news and sees things about what goes on in different countries. It doesn't help like with just the news. Like even I've gone to the Bahamas and was thinking about going to the Bahamas this year. and unfortunately, 3, I think it was, tourists died in the hotel. So they see stuff like that. They see stuff about Mexico. Mexico, I know, who was that that mentioned they felt safe? Israel Sharon said that she felt safe in visiting Mexico, but then you see people just going off of the news. I was actually going to um, I've been a lot busy lately because I got engaged. So I was actually thinking about doing a destination wedding in Mexico, but then a surge of like COVID hit again. I even got COVID, so I just decided to halt and plan something for later. And guests, not just family, different friends were sending us articles on like how they didn't feel like Mexico was safe, things that were happening. So, yeah. So I hear that a lot. And even I saw a tweet recently where someone posted, like, you shouldn't go to Italy because it was Naples, Italy. Someone told that person they shouldn't go to Naples, Italy because they're snatching women off of the street. And that person was like, you shouldn't just you need to stop watching the news. So, but at the same time, I've actually been to Naples, and when I was in Rome, my tour guide told me to just kind of be very aware of my surroundings in Naples. It's the south part of Italy. And when I was there in Naples, someone wrote graffiti like F tourist or whatever on the wall. And so I was out. I was actually with someone, and we just went to dinner and went back to the room. The reason we went to Naples was to take a boat to Capri and Sorrento. Yeah, so Shalise says that I want to go to Versailles while I was investigating. Yeah. So, yeah. And then also in Paris, though, there are some, I have to find the link for it, but there is actually, there's Little Africa within Paris, and there's some tour that goes around which offers you a tour of like the Black areas or Little Africa around Paris. They have African cuisine from different countries there, so that is an option to take that tour. Versailles was nice, like really want to go back there. If you do decide to go to Paris, definitely look into getting one of those timed entry, especially if you're going to the Versailles. I think it was about 45 minutes by train from Paris. If you go to Versailles, look into getting a timed entry ticket, and that way you don't have to wait in line. The line was really long on folks that were just like walk-ups, but had a timed entry ticket and got in there pretty quickly. Has anyone else had a good experience with Paris? Is it mostly, have you heard bad things about Paris? Let me know. That was Shalise that said that she had a bad experience. Let's see. Okay. So Ishual Sharon says, I felt that the Mexican people were very friendly, nice, and helpful. You will see the police out, but I did not fear for my life being around them. Yeah, and like I said, I went to only Cozumel on a cruise. I, just did some activities for a little bit for a day. Definitely saw like police walking around with like heavy machinery. But I've also seen that in Italy. I've seen that in Jamaica. Just pretty much where I go out of the country, I've seen police going around, especially with a lot of utility. Especially in Italy, I saw that in the subway. When I first got there, I was like, "What is going on? Why are these police walking around with the helmets and the big rifle or AK whatever guns. And I was a little taken aback by it, but I definitely, now when I go out of the country and I see them, I'm kind of like, yeah, okay, that's kind of just like the norm. But I definitely saw it when I went to Italy. So who knows? I'll probably go to Mexico. I hope to go. I was very disappointed when my flight got canceled, and then I think maybe a month or so later it opened. Cancun opened, so I'm looking to go back, or not go back. Go. I went to Cozumel, but I'm looking to go to Cancun. I want to go to Cabos within Mexico, but that's like very far. It's like 8 hours away from Atlanta, and I've heard maybe that's maybe the slower side of Mexico. I don't know if you guys have been to Cabos. Let's see. Okay. So Ishmael says, I'm looking in Spain or Greece. I want to go to the Mediterranean. Yeah, that one is kind of a toss up too. I went to Barcelona. On this trip, I did Barcelona, Nice, and Monaco. Because one thing about when you get over into Europe, I don't know if you all are familiar with EasyJet or just some of the like no frills airlines. You can get like a flight for like $30, 30 plus dollars. Of course, there might be charges for bags, but I went to Barcelona. I actually went during what was kind of like a holiday over there. I can't remember the name of the holiday, but it was in September. It was actually near around September 11th. And let's see, I stayed in a hotel. The only thing I didn't really feel safe about is Uber had just started over there. And again, the men weren't friendly. I just didn't have a good experience with the men being very friendly. The person that I was like, the hotel desk, like saw that I had like a DSLR camera, just warning me about things about being safe. Like, definitely don't pull that out. Don't be too flashy. But she was just saying like it's a lot of high crime. As far as friendliness, I don't know, it's up for today. I just know I didn't have a good experience. The Uber driver, like we put in the destination and everything, and Uber was new. And that Uber driver drove us around so much, and he just kept staring in anger in the rearview mirror, like looking at us. I don't know what. And of course, there was like a language barrier, and he just drove around, and I'm like trying to tell him like, this is where the hotel is, and finally I just said, let us out. And we just got out, and he was just not that friendly, so kind of left a little damper. And then trying to get back to the hotel, I don't know where we were, trying to get back to the hotel. I think it was something like it would have taken a long walk, and it was raining, and they didn't have like any cars for like an hour, so we kind of just sat there. But Uber was new, and that's when I learned that there are local. You need to kind of go by what the hotel recommends when you get there. Maybe if you're staying in an Airbnb, ask the Airbnb like host or your hotel concierge like what's the best way to get around that city, because there's actually a Spanish version of Uber. And let me get that because it's escaping my name right now, or escaping what the name is. Okay, so it's Cabify. So I took Cabify, and that was like a different experience. Some things that I really didn't like is I went to like a dancing show, the tango show, I believe, there, and like we paid for these seats, and like they were like purposely like skipping over us. Like they were kind of like bringing who they want to bring like by the stage, and then like we had to like sit in the back. It's me and my mom, Black. It was just some things I just didn't like. But that Uber ride was I was just very uncomfortable with that, especially with him kind of just staring and just driving around and running up. And that was like the second time that it happened with using Uber. So I actually went to a different hotel after I came back from Nice, came back to Barcelona because that's where I was flying back from to get back to Atlanta. And they told us about Cabify. So let me put that in the chat. So if you're ever going to some of these Spanish destinations, look up and see if Cabify exists. But like I said, always ask your hotel or either your Airbnb host what's the best way to get around, what do they recommend, because you just never know. In some destinations, Uber is actually illegal. I won't say where I was in case, something happens later, but the destination I went to, it's somewhere in South America. You can look at some of my videos and figure it out. But I took Uber and I didn't realize that it was technically kind of illegal until I got picked up from the airport. And the Uber driver asked me to ride in the front because it was they did that because they wanted to act like they were just picking up a friend, because they actually have to go through like security they picked me up from an airport parking lot and had to go through security to like a parking lot booth, and just kind of acting like they were picking up a friend or whatnot. So that was very interesting. So that's why I say you want to ask, because a lot of these places do not like Uber. It was kind of like how it was, excuse me one second. It was kind of like how it was when, Uber first, whenever that was, came to the States, and taxi drivers were upset. Where a lot of these places, like I said, I went to one destination, it was illegal to use Uber and Lyft. I went to Cape Town, and the cab drivers are very upset, especially with the presence of Uber and Lyft. I remember going to Cape Town and I was trying to get an Uber or Lyft, and it was I was like, should I take a taxi? Should I do Uber or Lyft? And there was a lot of people like saying, hey, I can take you, whatever. And I didn't know if this like cab service, what it was. So I just asked someone there at the airport, like a local, like, about this service. And I guess the cab driver could tell I was kind of nervous. So he was complaining the whole way from the airport to my hotel about Uber and Lyft, and like someone had just got arrested. They were like, they, could take that person's like visa or something like to that effect. So they, that's why I say you need to ask what's the best way to get around, because you just never know how Uber and Lyft are received in other countries or whatnot. Let me catch up on some of the comments. Okay, so Shalise says, I felt safe in Mexico. They enforced COVID-19 protocols better than U.S. Wow, that's very interesting. Yeah, I think everybody does it better than the U.S. I have a few videos of when I went to the Bahamas last year, and I talked about like the different protocols. Of course, I had to take a test. I had to take a daily questionnaire about like, am I exhibiting symptoms? And like, if you were in the Bahamas for a certain amount of time, you had to take another test. And of course, whenever you go out of the country, you have to take a test to get back into the US. So, and even when I was at the hotel, they made sure like people were wearing their masks. People were outside at like the pool, and even went up to the bar. And I had on my mask, but while ordering, someone did not have on their mask, and they were like, you need to pull up your mask. And this was last year. So I think a lot of places have done better with the protocols than the US. Crazy. Okay, so BAH says, same, solo and a women are my issues for traveling. I haven't on my own ever. So yeah, I definitely can understand that. Solo traveling is not for everyone. So definitely don't push yourself out of your comfort zone. I will say though, some of my best trips, and don't tell my fiance, some of my best trips have been traveling solo. And the way I kind of got up my comfort to travel solo is I actually traveled at one point a lot for work by myself. So just like small road trips. And then I got up the comfort or just got up the nerves to go to DC. And at the time I was in Charlotte. So it was like 6 hour road trip. And I just got on the road because sometimes I would take like 2 weeks off at the end of the year and nobody else would do that. So I'm like, I don't want to just sit at home. So I ended up just driving to DC. Um, I had no plans. I got the hotel room kind of last minute and went and had a good time. And I actually ended up meeting up with a classmate there who kind of like showed me the different monuments around DC. So it was really fun. This was one of my younger years. I did go like to a bar by myself while I was in DC, and I'm like, yeah, this isn't for me. So I just kind of like did some like shopping stuff. But I think what really helped is I drove my own car up there and just had fun. But you can start small, like even in your city, do a staycation. I'm in Atlanta. There's like some cool things that are like an hour away. So I could do like a small thing there. And since I traveled a lot for my job, I would eat by myself. So I just kind of like really built up my comfort to be by myself. And then after DC, I ended up going to San Francisco by myself. But what kind of helped was this was like a Vegas, LA, San Francisco trip. My friend lived in LA, so while he was working during the week, I just decided to take a flight from LA to San Francisco. Went out to eat there. I went to like the like it's like it wasn't a rooftop bar, but it was one of their like jazz lounges at the hotel. I biked the Golden Gate Bridge by myself and went from I think it's about 8 miles. That was a little scary because once I got over the bridge, I ended up in Sausalito, which is another town near there, and I'm like, I'm out here by myself and I see a dog barking. I'm like, something happens, like I'm out of luck because I was out of breath and stuff. Okay, so hopefully, don't push yourself, but definitely there are ways to kind of ease yourself into solo travel. Some of the things also that I do when I travel by myself is I'll go on group tours so I don't feel so by myself. I'll definitely give my itinerary to someone back home. I'm talking about where am I staying? Here's the address. Here's what I'm planning to do. If I'm doing Uber or Lyft, like I said, it just depends on what's going on in that destination. I'll have my rides sent back to someone just so they can track, even though they're not in the same country, they can have, something. And when I travel by myself, I do not do Airbnb. I see that Ishmael says I'm afraid of staying in Airbnb instead of a hotel abroad. So yeah, when I'm by myself, I don't do that Airbnb thing. I actually rarely do an Airbnb because I try to find ways to get points with either through travel credit cards or through I talked about, there's a short video that I recently posted on how you can earn points by just shopping and just doing stuff at home. So I try to use hotel points. And then if you have a corporate code or someone, like if you work for a company that has like a sales team or any traveling folks, most of the times there might be a corporate code discount that you can apply to hotels and rental cars and all that good stuff. So I try to use those corporate codes. And if you know somebody that has access to a corporate code, find that out. You didn't hear that from me, and use it. Of course, let them know you're using it. But yeah, I try to use that route. I don't do Airbnb. The last time I did an Airbnb was in Paris, and it was not a good experience because the water was cold a lot for showers, and it was already cold when I went to Paris. I went in April and it was pretty cold compared to April in Atlanta, which is we're in May, and I believe we had like a 95-degree day either today or recently this week. So having a cold shower in Paris is not good. I just don't really like Airbnbs. And with some of the perks when you sign up for some of these loyalty programs with the hotels, or if you have a certain status, you'll get like free breakfast. So, depending on how you do it, you have that big breakfast in the morning, and then you don't have to worry about food for a while. So I just like perks of the hotel, especially, I don't know if you've seen some of these videos where folks are saying like, oh, our trip ended early and we have to carry our bags around the city. And with hotels, you can like check your bag when you check out. So like your flight might not leave until the evening, but you can check your bag. I've been in one Airbnb. This was in Rome, where the host was gracious enough to let us leave our bags for a little bit, but we still had to go back and get them. So that's another perk that I like. I always put a lock on my bag anyway and just check it with the hotel and explore the city, especially if I have a late flight. So this is the service that I mentioned as far as what I used in Barcelona. Some people, like I said, some people have had better experiences than I have in Barcelona. I didn't have a good one. So did you say you took the pic in the background? Yes. Yes. Let me see if I can, hold on. I was going to turn this off. But yeah, I took the pic in the background with my drone. I'm actually a drone pilot. I have this as a canvas. Where is it? Actually, like I said, I'm still setting up my room, but I actually have this as a canvas on my store. Let me post it. Okay, so if you go to my store, which is store.workhardtravelwell.com, I have shirts. So I have one of them I'm wearing right now, which is the Work Hard Travel Well, this is like my hashtag and everything that I came up with. And I have travel prints. So if you go here, there's different ones. These are pictures that I actually took. Let me hide this 1 second. These are pictures that I took. This is when I went to Paris. These are from Paris. This is one of my faves. This was when I went to Victoria Falls, and this was literally the view from, let me see if I can make this bigger. This is the view from my room in Zimbabwe side of Victoria Falls. So this is the canvas that I have. Oops, sorry, 1 second. So this is the canvas here. And I'm actually gonna try to grab it. I have 1 second. Okay, so I'm back. So I actually wanted to put it up in time, but I'm still kind of getting things together from my new area, but it's probably gonna not show that well. Let me turn off this. But this is the canvas, so you can hang it up on the wall. But yeah, so I will drop the link to this in the chat. And that is the link to the canvas, but you can check out some of my other art that I have there. Thank you for saying that. Oh wow, being a drone pilot sounds fun. That pic is really nice. Thanks. Yeah, it's definitely exciting. I don't know if you guys, have thought about investing in a drone for your travels. I have a separate channel called All Things Drone where I talk about drone tips for like beginners and people that are interested in buying a drone. And here's the drone channel if you want to check it out. And here is the link. It's in the chat now for the canvas. So thanks. I appreciate all the love. I have a blast with flying my drone. I've flown in different destinations. And so I definitely like to share my work and bring it to, you can put it in your home or put it in your office or whatever. But I love it. And it's my favorite city, Atlanta, which is where I'm from. Okay. So let me catch up on some of the comments, and do me a favor, just a quick check-in. Be sure to like this video and share it. I'm definitely loving all of the engagement. Love chatting with you all. It's been a while since I've gone live, but like I said, a lot of things have changed, and I'm gonna try to go live more often. Planning a wedding is definitely stressful. I didn't know it would be so stressful. I wish my friends had been more honest about that process. But anyway, let's see. Okay, so yes, this one guy rented an Airbnb and there was no tub or shower. What? I think he was in Denmark. See? Yeah. Don't get me wrong. You really have to do your research. Airbnb is not for everybody. Like I said, I prefer a hotel just for the reasons I listed earlier. But then on the flip side, some hotels could, catfish as well. I usually look at TripAdvisor to see ratings, I sort the photos by recent photos. I look at traveler photos. I don't look at those stock photos. And I look at ratings that way. And I'm one of those people, if I skimp on the flight or find a cheap flight deal, I'm going to try to I want to be comfortable when I travel. It's just very important to be safe, be in a safe place to stay and be comfortable when I travel. Okay, I see Shy Sarai Vlogs. Hey, virtual hug. Hey, thanks for checking in. Like I said, if you're new here, be sure to hit the subscribe button and give the video a thumbs up. I really appreciate that. I have my super chats turned on, which is a way to support the channel with donations, which is buy me a coffee or some in that vein. And also I have my store that I talked about earlier, if you're interested in buying some merch. So appreciate it. Okay. So, Atlanta, I don't know how I heard Zimbabwe. Okay, so you heard Zimbabwe because I talked about some of the art that's in my store is from destinations that I visited, and one of them was a sunset in Zimbabwe. So Victoria Falls is divided up. You can see Victoria Falls on either Zambia or Zimbabwe side. The trip that I did, I went from Atlanta to Johannesburg, which is a 16-hour flight. This was solo. This was my furthest solo trip ever. I was nervous, and I travel solo. I've told you my process is how I worked it up. After I went to San Francisco, my first international trip was Turks and Caicos. And some people would be like, that's like a honeymoon spot, isn't it? But I worked my way up. But even when I went to South Africa and Zimbabwe, I was nervous. I actually purchased the flight once and canceled it. Because, you have most airlines give you a 24-hour grace period. So I purchased the flights once and canceled it. And then finally, you know what, I'm just going to go. Because I've been talking about getting to the motherland forever. So I just ended up going. Even the day of, I was just like, what the heck did I get myself into? But so basically, I went from Atlanta to Johannesburg, um, from Johannesburg to Durban. And I skipped Johannesburg because people were saying there was so much crime, like they were robbed and stuff there. And I was going solo, so I'm like, I'm gonna skip that. And then I took a flight. So that's why I say when you get to these different countries, check what the in-country airlines are because you can get cheap flights. So I got on a completely different airline. I took Delta over there, got on a completely different airline and went to Durban. I stayed there for a night. My hotel was free due to points. The point redemption was very low in those areas. I think I want to say I spent like maybe 20,000 points, Marriott points. So it was very low. And also, Marriott gives you, if you have an Amex Marriott, they give you a free night every year that you have the card. But so that was some things that factored in. Went to Durban. If you saw my recent live on Instagram, I go live on Instagram sometimes as well. I talked about how I did not have a good experience in Durban. I actually was followed around by someone. I will skip Durban, so that's why I don't really recommend Durban at all. So that's why I said earlier, you have to research. You have to kind of know that you have to be aware of your surroundings. You have to kind of know that there are areas within countries that are not safe. We talked about the U.S. earlier. There's areas within the U.S. that I do not feel safe. I could go an hour up 75 interstate and not feel safe, and there's racism. So South Africa, Durban was not. Was not safe there. I got followed around and ended up running away, trying to get away from this guy that was following me around. Turns out I think he was trying to get my phone. I was out of my hand, in my hand. I didn't have anything else flashy, but I was holding my phone. I was actually around other people that were using their phone to take pictures of the beach and everything. But for some reason, the police, long story, you have to check that story out at a later date. But thankfully, when I ran, I saw a police hut, ran into there, and the police think probably they saw my phone had English or maybe the U.S. carrier. They saw something. And then these two guys spoke to me, and I didn't speak back because I didn't speak the language. I was in Durban. I don't want to mess it up. I want to say like there is a large population of Zulu there, but I didn't speak the language. And I think probably maybe my blank face or just me not speaking it back gave me away, even though I didn't look flashy or anything like that. Like I said, everyone else had their phone out taking pictures. There was actually a concert going on, taking videos and stuff. But anyway, after Durban, I took another flight to Zimbabwe. So there's two sides. You can either go into Victoria Falls through Zambia or Zimbabwe. If you want to go to both, you have to get a visa. Let me know if you guys want to know more about that trip and how the logistics of visiting Victoria Falls is. Let me know. Okay, so let me catch up on some of the comments. Oh, wow. Thank you. I appreciate the super chat from Israel Sharon, $10. Thank you so much. Okay, so let's see. Ooh, I'm a little behind. Hold on. Have I ever lived abroad? No, but that is on my list of things to do. Once I get some things, set up here with the family, starting a family and all that stuff, I'm ready to go abroad. Just with all that's happening, it's really bad here. Like it's terrible that we have to be in fear of our lives as Black Americans all the time. It's just in the race to just at work in corporate America, all that stuff. Like I'm tired. I'm ready to go abroad. I haven't exactly figured out where that would be yet. So many people rave about living in Mexico. I know a lot of different travel bloggers and YouTubers Sheeta's on the Loose. You can check her out. Just different YouTubers that live in Mexico right now. So I've heard a lot about there. So I haven't lived abroad yet, but I'm ready. I just have to get some things, set up here and just complete some things out, and I'm ready to go. Shy Sarai Vlog said that's why I got married in Vegas. That sounds ideal right now. I yeah, I can't even begin to describe, but it's just been busy on top of busy, and then just trying to work, all that stuff. It's stressful. And on top of that, sidebar, another thing that's going on, you see it, everything is kind of crazy right now. Rent's going up, flights are going up. Everything is just kind of out of whack because of the aftermath. Even though the pandemic COVID is still here, what's happening is a lot of people weren't able to get married during COVID or the pandemic. And so now you see a rush of people making up for that. So we're all in this little time frame of trying to get it. And in Atlanta, it's definitely interesting. Yes, 16-hour flight. And I don't know about you all, but I cannot sleep on flights. I probably slept not a lot. I cannot sleep on flights. I take a sleeping pill and I'm not able to really sleep. I actually used some points to upgrade to, I want to say it's Comfort Plus on Delta, and I did the first row, so nobody would be in front of me. But of course, there's still someone behind me, but I was on the outside, so I just have some room. So like even trying to go to sleep, someone, would need to get past me to go to the bathroom and that stuff. So if I do that again, like on my way back, I was like, how can I get a first class seat? I was asking, and they said they were sold out on the way back to Atlanta. I was about to just cash all in all my miles, everything. Cause I'm like, I cannot do this 16-hour flight sitting in comfort. Like I need to stretch out and lay down. I was exhausted, but even so, it's hard for me to sleep on flights. But yeah, 16-hour flight. I had access to WhatsApp and all that stuff and just chatting and watching videos, and it was interesting, but I wouldn't have had it any other way. Most of the times when you go to somewhere in Africa, depending on where you're coming from, I know definitely from Atlanta, so most of the airlines, unless it's Delta, can be like a 24-hour whole process because you'll be stopping in different cities. And some of the cities that that were available were like London. I went in December because December is a good time to go to, depending on, but most of the time it's a good time to go over to African countries. And they were stopping in London and wherever, and that would be cold. And it was like a long layover. So I'm like, do I really want to spend 24 hours of travel time that cuts into how many vacation days I need to use at work? And do I want to try to pack a jacket or something or a sweater when I'm going to be wearing shorts and stuff the rest of the trip? So I just opted for a Delta flight. I'm not sure if I covered this one already. Shy Sarai blog says, I always do hotels. I want my room clean, towels changed, and into lounge. Yeah. Like I said, I always do hotels for many different reasons, but most of the times I can find a discount on a hotel more so than Airbnb, which are like, credits, which are those are hard and few to come by. I'm kind of like I won't really, unless I'm there for a long time, I won't do housekeeping. I posted a video recently. I don't know if you all saw the video I posted with the girl who like cleans her entire room before she starts her trip. That girl in the video, I can relate. I definitely clean my entire, sanitize it down. And after that, I don't want housekeeping to come in because I have already cleaned it and I don't want you coming back and making up the bed and doing that. Like I could just do it myself. But I'll just ask them for towels, or like if I see them in the hall, I'm like, hey, I need to switch these towels. Give them the dirty towels, and then I get my towels. But if it's a long stay, maybe. But usually I'm hopping around. Like when I went to Cape Town, Durban, and Ventura Falls, like it was like 8 days. So I was kind of hopping around to different hotels. But yeah, like I said, I prefer hotels, especially traveling solo. Okay, let's see. My dream, Sharon says, my dream trip is Egypt. I have to get there in my lifetime. Yeah, like I definitely want to get there. That's one of those trips I'm not going to do solo. And I'm going off of kind of what I heard. Let me know if you all have visited, what your experiences are, and just let me know. But that's the one that I probably would go with my fiance to visit. But I definitely want to get there and see the pyramids and all that good stuff. And if also while you're here, I'll drop a link. I have some of the websites and the travel credit cards that I use, as well as just I have a summary of all the travel tips that I've talked about in a nice PDF, and you can download it for free. Enjoy my mail list. I send out a lot of different travel tips there. So I know we've been talking about all over the place, but really the purpose of this video was to just talk about initially how like my family member said, I wouldn't want to be a target in another country. Like it's not safe to travel abroad. And I'm like, well, not safe in the U.S. So what else you got? Because that's not going to be the reason why I'm going to, that's not going to prevent me from traveling. I'm ready to go to. And which one? I'm sorry. Which place are you ready to go to? Let me know which one you want to go to. Okay, let me make sure I didn't miss any of the comments. But I really appreciate you all for the comments and everything. This has been really cool. I wanted to get everyone's kind of, am I the only one feeling this way? But it's so unfortunate that we have to keep experiencing this. Buffalo, hearing about Buffalo makes me sick to my stomach, and I'm so tired of hearing about it. So every time I see things like this, and just being in Georgia, from even when we had the election to Trump interfering with the election here in Georgia, or trying to interfere. We have the campaign for governor. They're even just now doing the investigations, or basically everything investigating into like what happened with Trump trying to get those extra votes in Georgia. Like all that stuff, I'm just tired of it. And someone asked earlier, have I lived abroad? And like I said, I'm ready. Want to get married, possibly have a child here, maybe have a child abroad. But I want to get, that out the way first. Get some things, like some more money saved up, and I'm going to be looking to get out of the country. I know my family is not going to be excited to hear that, but yeah, I'm ready to leave. Yeah, maybe Mexico or Europe. I'm just over the U.S., so I'm starting my research. Yeah, and I enjoy having conversations like this, so we can continue this dialogue, so it can help others determine where they want to travel. Yeah, definitely tired of the U.S. Well, let me know if you all have any questions. Like I said, I really just wanted to get on and talk about that. I wrote this article, let's see, back, like I said, kind of my experiences while traveling abroad versus compared to the U.S. Yeah, definitely visit before you move. A lot of countries are even worse on Black people. than here. Yeah. I would definitely recommend you visiting before you move there. Because I think we've even talked about a few where some of the countries were not friendly to Black people. So, Shai Sarai, do you live abroad or are you in the U.S.? Let me know. Let's see. Ishwal says, I have had my family say it's not safe to travel, but honestly, the U.S. is all they know. Yeah, and for the most part, that's most of my family, and it's mostly the older family members that really say that. Um, Younger family members don't really say anything, but unfortunately, I have family members that won't even don't like to fly, so that's all they really know, and they see the news. Like I said earlier, I was supposed to go to Bahamas this year, and 3 tourists died in a hotel. I haven't really seen why that was. If they came up with what happened, and they see the news and they just send you. They send me the articles on it, and like I said, I was sent so many articles on Mexico, but I still want to go to Mexico. You just have to be aware of your surroundings. Definitely do your research, and if you're thinking about moving, like Shai Sarai says, definitely visit before you move. Okay, I am in the U.S. Seattle. Nice. That's one place that I have not visited. Let me know how that is for Black travelers. I'm gonna check out. I'm assuming, do you have a travel channel? I'm gonna definitely check you out. It'd be cool if you have any content on Seattle. Someone I know visited the UK and experienced a lot of racism there than here. Super weird. Yeah, so like I was saying earlier, I went to London. I don't have to go back to London anytime soon. Not only was I the food wasn't good. The only place that I enjoyed, let's see. The only place that I enjoyed in London, and I only went to London, I didn't really go anywhere else, is within the UK, that is Brixton, which is like an area where it's a lot of Caribbean roots in Brixton. So there was I want to say, get the name of the museum. So it's the Black Cultural Archives, was in Brixton area. Put it in the chat so you all can see. But other than that, I didn't really have a good experience. And they had in Brixton, they had pictures of they had a mural of Michelle Obama. They had murals of different U.S. rappers and stuff like that. So it was a cool area. But other than that, I really don't have to go back to London unless, I can't tell you why. I can't really say the unless part. Let's see. Let me catch up. When I went to Mexico, my family had a fit. They thought I would be kidnapped by the drug cartel. Yeah. Yeah. I'm glad you're safe, but yeah, and did you go to Mexico solo? You might have said that already, but I'm trying to keep up with all the comments. But let us know if you went solo. Wherever I move to, the food gotta be good. That's definitely a fact. I don't even remember one good thing about London as far as food. Well, maybe London, but the food there, and everyone kept saying you gotta get fish and chips. And I just told you all my roots. Although I'm from Atlanta, I lived in North Carolina for a while, and most of my family is from North Carolina. And we go to in North Carolina what you call fish camps. And that's basically get some good fried seafood, good fried fish. That's some of the best fish I've had is in North Carolina, of course, and some parts of Florida. But going to London and getting the fish and chips, and the fish was like, it was like a fried fillet, but it tasted like it was baked or broiled in the oven. And also it had some unseasoned fries. I'm just like, what is this? Like, you know, of course I know of things that's different. Everyone has eats, prepares things differently, but it was just not good at all. And of course, it could have been the restaurant that I went to, but I'm used to some good, really fried fish, salt and pepper style, and give me some hush puppies. But like I said, I know I wasn't expecting hush puppies in London, but just flavorless. It's just okay. So Shy Sarai Vlog says I have some clips of Seattle in my video, but they are mostly waste logs. Okay, cool. I'm still gonna check it out. Definitely want to check it out because I'm trying to lose some weight for the wedding. Let's see. Fish camps sound amazing. And I don't know if that's like a southern thing or maybe just my family, but we call them fish camps. And you can get like a whole fried thing of fish for like $10 to $13, and they're big pieces of fish in North Carolina. I had some fried fish here at a restaurant, and it was like $20. It was just like one fillet. I'm like getting a little hungry thinking about it. Anyway, yes, I went by myself. In the Bahamas, you gotta be street smart and aware, but that's anywhere you go. Yeah, that's what I say. Definitely anywhere you go. When I do videos about like places I've traveled solo and why I recommend it, people kind of get on me because they're like, you know, it's not safe or whatever. But there are areas that are unsafe of every place. Like I said, there's even areas in the U.S. Yeah. Speaking of Bahamas and fish, they definitely have some good fried fish. Don't get me started on fries. Why am I getting hungry about fried fish? Okay. Not unseasoned fries. Yes. Unseasoned. Oh, I wish I could show y'all this picture. It's on my Instagram somewhere, but it's like, whew, it was not good at all. Like, I'm like, can y'all pass the salt and pepper? Like, I'm like trying to dip my fries in something. Let me show this. That's actually some of the fish I had in Bahamas. But this is my Instagram. I don't know if y'all are on Instagram. Work hard, travel well. So definitely hit me up on Instagram as well. So there's a few ways to get in touch with me, but on my email list is where you really get like direct emails from me. I can't find it, but yeah, it was not appealing. If you saw the picture of the fish, I must have took it down. It was probably just not even a good look. But anyway, let me get back to these comments. I have always, Chanel Jones says, I have always wanted to go to Ireland and Scotland. I'm just nervous about going alone. Also, I'm visually impaired. What do you think? That might be a tough one. I do know some other vloggers or visually impaired bloggers that I could that might be able to help better as far as with their content. Let's see, Ireland, Scotland, those I have not been to yet. I wanted to go to Ireland. Let me know in the chat if you guys can help gals and men that are on here, if y'all can help out Chanel. Thoughts on going to Ireland and Scotland alone. Okay. Got a couple of marriage proposals in the Bahamas. That reminds me of Turks and Caicos. I definitely, when I went to Turks and Caicos solo, that's another thing that I do. I don't know about you all, but I don't ever give like my real information. I don't post in real time, especially on social media when I'm by myself. Uh, I don't post in real time. Why my camera keeps shutting off? I don't post in real time. I don't give my information. When I went to Turks and Caicos, I don't know what name I used, but it wasn't my name. um, I like said like when I went to like the bars by myself and just ate because I'd rather. So most of the times I'll eat at the bar when I go out of the country by myself because I don't really want to sit at the table unless I did go sit at a table when there was a restaurant when they were playing like live music and the bar was like facing away from the live music. So I definitely sat at the table by myself. Got approached. Unfortunately, I'm just trying to take videos for my YouTube channel of the food and the surroundings and at the table, and people were harassing me like, "Why are you by yourself?" And I just kind of sometimes, most of the times, I ignore. But um, as far as going back to my story with Turks and Caicos, yeah, definitely got a couple of marriage proposals. I remember exchanging because WhatsApp. This was back when I first got on Instagram when I went to Turks and Caicos, and Turks and Caicos, they're like, "What is Instagram?" Like, we're on WhatsApp over here, which is what a lot of when you go out of the country, a lot of people use WhatsApp. So exchange WhatsApp information, and at the time I had WhatsApp hooked up to my Google Voice, so you know they don't really have my real number. And exchange contact with someone that ended up saying they were really separated. So I'm like, you know, block. And then I definitely got a couple of like maybe not a couple, but one proposal. And the guy, he had already been married to someone from, I want to say the UK. So I'm like, oh, this is what you do, huh? So yeah, I definitely can understand getting the marriage proposals in the Bahamas. I feel like that happened to me in Dominican Republic as well. Okay, they like big girls. That's why I got those marriage proposals. Um, yeah, I don't think I can travel solo. I'm such a softie. Yeah, like I said, I had to work my way up. And even when I went to South Africa and did that 16-hour flight, like I said earlier, I had to really get my nerve up. Let's see. But I'm really appreciative of you all like joining in on the chat because it's been a minute since I've gone live and I had some issues earlier with my sound. So I'm glad you all are engaged in the chat. Be sure to like the video if you haven't already. And also be sure to subscribe to this channel, Work Hard Travel. Shy Sarai Vlog says you were blowing their mind. I'm like, yeah, you had a couple of marriage proposals. So do you still keep in touch with these people, or was it just you didn't exchange any contact information? Let us know. Did you use your real name? Like I said, when I went to Turks and Caicos, I was like, I actually rented a car there because it was at the time, this was a few years ago, it was advised that like they were saying like taxis were so expensive, like $80 or so to get from the airport. And I use corporate codes. Like I said, if you don't know what your corporate code is for your company, you know, make friends with someone that does have a corporate discount and apply it to your travel. That's all I'm gonna say. But so I ended up getting a rental car and driving around. So like this guy was like, yeah, like, you know, we can go to this restaurant. And I was telling him like, yeah, my family is back at the hotel. You know, my brother, older brother. All my family's back at the hotel, and he's like, "Well, we can park your car. You can get in the car with me." I'm like, "Yeah, no, I'm not doing that." What's the address, and I'll meet you there. So ended up having fun or whatnot. It was actually the bartender from the first restaurant I went to the restaurant with, and just strictly just hung out and had fun. But like I said, we kept in touch after I left, and he was talking about how he was separated but still living with the person, and I'm like, ooh, this sounds messy. Like, I hate I even gave you my information. He didn't have my name, but he had my Google Voice number, which, I mean, take that for what it is. Uh-oh. Okay. Get back here to the bottom of these comments. Sorry, I didn't mean to laugh so loud, but yeah, separated. Separated. These guys are a trip, aren't they? Oh, well, I shouldn't say just guys, but yeah, people are a trip, aren't they? Yeah. I'm just shaking my head thinking about that whole experience, even though it was like years ago. But Turks and Caicos is like, I really enjoyed that. That was my first solo international trip. Ended up getting like, they have a lot of hotels that are like kind of split up between like hotel rooms, and then like some people own those rooms or own those, like, it could be kind of like a little apartment. So ended up getting one. Booked the flight and hotel together and stayed at a hotel. It was a little scary driving, especially driving on the left side. And literally, when I left the airport, I witnessed somebody get into like a low speed accident. They like bumped each other right in front of me, and I'm like, man, y'all can't drive over here. The roads were extremely dark. It was a little scary at first, and then this was back in the day when the cell phone plan that I had charged a lot for international travel. Now I have T-Mobile, and they pretty much have unlimited 2G speeds in some countries, and then you can pay like $5 a day. This is back when international data was very expensive, so I was like only using data for maps, and even then the maps were kind of not that good. So it was very interesting to drive around there, but just being able to relax on the beach is really like a relaxing place. Like, it's not one of those like really busy destinations. I went to Provo. So from Atlanta to Provo, it's like 2.5 hours. So it's a quick flight if you're able to find a direct flight there, just depending on where you're flying from. And one thing I will say, though, Turks and Caicos is expensive in the sense of like food and things there were very expensive, because when you go to some of these island destinations, they import their stuff in. So that importing things is passed back to you as far as prices. I remember going to get like a gallon of water, like Pringles. I want to say were like $6. It was something crazy, $6 for like a can of Pringles, just stuff like that. It's expensive there. Okay, girl, no, I was by myself, and when I travel, I like to pretend that I'm somebody else. Maybe pretend I'm somebody else. I use a different career and everything. Yeah, I don't give any details. Like, at the time I had a travel blog, I don't even talk about that. The only time I talk about a travel blog is like I mentioned earlier, what makes me feel a little safer is going on group tours when I'm at a destination. So when I went to Victoria Falls, I actually got placed on a group tour with a Black family from the U.S. And so like I felt comfortable telling them that I have a travel vlog. And I met another black lady on the sunset cruise that I went on, and we ended up hanging out and going to dinner afterwards. And she knew she knew other travel bloggers, and So I told her about my travel blog. But other than that, I do not give any information. Like I said, I don't use my real name if I'm even asked. People are really, I don't know why, and I talk about this in another video. I don't know why people are so like curious about why you're traveling solo. Like it's very much a safety issue. I've come across people where they straight out asked me. I remember getting when I was in Cape Town, I went to the mall and the hotel had a shuttle, and I remember getting in the front seat of the shuttle because it was like groups of families in the back, and this lady just said, "Are you by yourself?" And she was literally like looking at me in confusion. So I have a video about like, is solo travel weird? Just because people try to. Some people think that solo traveling is weird. I don't think that it's weird, of course, because I do it, but it's interesting what you experience when you're traveling by yourself. Okay. Also, if these men know you're American, they think you got money. Yeah, that's definitely true. That's probably why, in my case, the guy was so eager, like the proposal. And just going back to what I said earlier, I came across a white American while I was in Turks and Caicos, and I was at a restaurant, and that restaurant was on the beach. And so I sat at a chair at the beach and I was trying to take like pictures and videos and stuff. And this white lady says, are you a guest of this hotel? Doing that stuff that they'd like to do here in America. Some people, I shouldn't generalize, but some people do that kind of thing in America. Like I don't even know why it bothered her. There's nobody out there, but she was just like, are you a guest of the hotel? And whatever. And she was like, you have to be a guest to be here. So I continued walking down the beach, and then this I forgot where he's from. I don't think he was from Turks and Caicos, but a black man like, hey, come here. And he said I could just sit in a chair or whatever, use their beach chair. But my hotel was on the beach. It was just further down. I had driven down to this side to go to this restaurant. And the lady came later, and she was just looking, kind of staring and just trying to understand, like, why was I able to sit at that beach, sit on that beach chair. Anyway, so that was an interesting experience. But the guy was like, oh, I'll get you any type of drink. And I'm thinking he's going to get me like a, just like a beach drink, like a alcoholic drink. But he brought back, just a soda, bless his heart. But, definitely got proposed to there. And I guess once, like you said, once they find out you're from America, they think you got money. Okay. Just got here. I was thinking of going to Ariana Wilson says, I was thinking of going to Italy this year. I read in the comments above. You didn't like it. I'm trying to think. Okay, so just to kind of catch you up, Ariana, hopefully I'm saying that right. It's kind of a mixed situation there. Like I said, Italy is beautiful. I am actually wanting to go back there, but they were not that friendly that I thought. Most of the in London, and I want to say Italy, most of the men there were not very friendly at all, for whatever reason. But it's kind of a catch. You just kind of have to be used to it. And I don't know if it's just kind of like that's how they are there, but it's just, they weren't friendly. I wouldn't say that I really came across any racist instances. I know I was asked like if I was from some parts of, I forgot which part, but some people kind of in Italy asked if I was from some area in Africa. Trying to think. My hair wasn't like, my hair was probably like I have it now, but they just, for whatever reason, kind of assumed I was from, and I forgot which country they assumed I was from while I was over there. And like I was saying earlier, there are different experiences for, some people have said like there's different experiences when you're a Black American versus from an African country. And then versus like if you're just visiting, and versus if you're like an actual living there or expat there and stuff like that. So I wouldn't deter people away from Italy. It's very beautiful. Like there was a comment above earlier that said people rave about it. So I'm not saying like I had like a racist experience. It's just that they weren't very like friendly, and I don't know if that's just because I'm black or if that was just they're just not that friendly there to women. I don't know what it was, but that's all. Yeah, some people think it's weird to go back to a restaurant by yourself. Much less the truth. Yeah, I don't really get that, and maybe it's because I'm used to it. But um, I've come across some interesting comments traveling by myself. Uh, from what I mentioned earlier about like someone really singling me out while I was on the van, and all her friends were like, "Why would you ask that?" Um, and I'm trying to think what else, like what people have said, but people are just like, some people might take pity, but like I said, some of my solo trips have been some of my favorite trips. Like, even though I talked about how I got followed around in Durban, I definitely will, like, that whole entire trip, I didn't leave, like, coming back to America, like, never do that again. Like, I'm like, hey, I'll do that again, but I'm not going to Durban, but I'll go somewhere else over there. Shy Soraya blog says that is so crazy. People do that all the time. We went to Hawaii. We went to all kinds of other hotels and beaches. Like I said, you can definitely tell she was from America because they do that crap. That happens a lot over here. And I mentioned earlier, like I could go up to Northwest Georgia and experience racism. And I just remember going to the mountains in Northwest Georgia, and like literally there was like we didn't see any black people. There was like an empty lot, and we just went to that empty lot to take pictures. And this guy comes out and says, "I know the owner of that lot, and he wouldn't be too happy with you all standing there." And we were just like, all right, we're going back to our cabin with the rest of our folks. And we didn't really leave the cabin. There was really no need to after that. Ariana Wilson says, thanks for the insight. I'm looking to start trying to do digital nomad thing before I work remotely, and keep saying I'm going to travel more, but I never do. Yeah, like I think it was Shy Sarai said, before you ever like move, and I definitely agree. Definitely travel to that destination and get a feel for it before you move there. There's so many different other Black travel bloggers. I have a video of some of the other Black travel bloggers that like are expats. So definitely get a feel for it. Look at some of the videos and look at some of their experiences, and um, try to get like an understanding from a local's perspective. Every time I go on a tour, especially the tour guides, I try to pick their brain, especially about like what there is actually to do, how things are. Like I still keep in touch with some of the tour guides that I met in Thailand. And when we got there, I literally picked her brain, like, where should we go? Because it's one thing to kind of tell you, like, or see, go on TripAdvisor and see, like, what can you do in the area. But hearing from a local what there is to do and getting from a local's perspective, you definitely want to do that. So when you do go to these places that you're looking into going to, if you can't connect with some of the locals from, like, either going out to eat or if you go on a tour, definitely try to like build some type of relationship there and keep in touch with them. If you have any more questions, they're usually very helpful. I still keep in touch with where I went to Colombia with two other tour guides and keep in touch with them. I went to Colombia solo and keep in touch with both of the tour guides. One's in Cartagena and one's in Medellin, and like you can get all the knowledge and, soak in and kind of get their experience perspective is another way to kind of learn about the area that you're looking to move to. Okay. Well, I think that's it. Like I said, I just really wanted to come on here with all that's happening lately. It's just, it just happens all the time. And I would definitely encourage you not to fear traveling abroad. Like I said, do your research. You've seen some of the comments. And just know to be alert, practice safe measures, and don't just assume that the entire country is going to be safe. There's always going to be areas that, no, you shouldn't go there. I mentioned earlier about Naples. Like I said, Italy is beautiful. Naples, though, I was warned about from my Rome tour guide, definitely keep your head on a swivel in Naples, but that's anywhere. But Naples was one that they specifically were like, yeah. And I remember somebody saying to me, like, you'll probably just go to dinner and back to your room. And that's exactly what we did. Because like I mentioned earlier, they had a sign up there that said or somebody had graffiti that said F tourists, refugees, welcome. And I just remember about Naples. But I literally only went to Naples to get on a boat to go to a different city. It was just so happened to be kind of like an easy way to get to Capri, which is in Naples. You can take like I want to say a 30 to 40 minute boat ride over to Capri, which is really nice. Okay, so how was Colombia? Okay. I really loved Colombia. I went to Cartagena, and the only thing about Colombia is it's very tough, at least from where I am in Atlanta. I can never find a direct flight. Now it's even harder. At the time, I flew on JetBlue, which I'll never do again, and flew from Atlanta to Fort Lauderdale to Colombia, and then I took a local airline from Cartagena to Medellin, and then Medellin back on JetBlue back to the U.S. So I like Cartagena. Like there is a beach there. Some people say that it reminds you of Miami. I did not stay on the beach, but that's where if you are looking to do like a Hilton or a Marriott, the chain hotels are on the beach. But then there's what they call Old Walled City. So it's basically literally a walled city, which has some of the really the old historic part of Cartagena. And there are hotels, older hotels there, mostly Airbnbs there. And I stayed there because that was my first time going. And I wanted to get that experience. Some people stay on the beach. Of course, like I said, that there's Hiltons and Marriott. So when I stayed in Old Walled City, I was not able to stay at a chain hotel. So I actually was not able to use points or anything like that. But I felt comfortable walking around Old Walled City by myself. I went to, I went to like a lounge there, not a lounge, but really like a restaurant that had like music and everything. I felt comfortable walking around, but you probably seen videos where people follow you around rapping and stuff like that. Of course, they're trying to get money. I did come across a lot of people like asking for money, but that happens a lot when you travel. But it was a lot within the Old Walled City of Cartagena. So like I remember just like coming out of the store and a little boy was like, had his hand out, stuff like that. So they'll follow you around. If you ever see photos of people in Colombia with the women with the fruit on there, the fruit baskets on top of the head and stuff like that, those like cost like a lot of money to take pictures with them. So, but I really liked it. And then I went on a group tour. Like I mentioned, I like to do solo. I like to do group tours when I'm on a solo trip. And I went to Palenque, which is the Black area of Colombia. And I think it was one of the first free towns, I want to say, because of course when we first arrived, slavery, but then they were one of the first free towns. But it's called Palenque. And let me see, I can drop my link to the videos. Or if you just want to search on my channel, search for Colombia. I have a ton of videos on that. On it. I'm going to drop this one and then you guys can watch it later. This is one of the videos to Colombia. And so I just want to do a quick check-in, just reset. If you're new here, definitely be sure to subscribe and like this video. I do have my super chats turned on, so that's just a way to support the channel. I appreciate the super chat from Ishwal, so definitely appreciate that. And you're definitely able to purchase a super chat to support the channel. And then also I have a store that I posted earlier in the link or in the comments, and that's store.workhardtravelwell.com. And I talked about earlier how you can purchase the canvas, which is the picture I took behind me with my drone. You can purchase it on the store as well. But it's in the comments. And then also just a quick reminder, you can join my email list, and I have a free guide that I talk about all of the travel tips that I use, travel hacks and all that stuff. And then it's a way to really hear from me directly. I send out emails occasionally to you all. So definitely check out those things. Okay, so I think I have answered all the questions. Let me know if you guys have any topics that you want to know about in the comments. I'm going, my next video, I want to definitely talk about earning points at home so that you can travel more, because these flight prices are ridiculous. And anything you can do, if you can get your hotel down with points or whatnot, and it's definitely a good way. Like, I racked up on some points by just some easy purchases, and I'm not talking about through travel credit cards. It's another way. So I'm gonna go live about that next week. So definitely, if you're subscribed, turn on the bell, click the bell so you can be notified for when I go live. And then also I go live on sometimes on my Instagram. Oops. So the reason, and on Instagram, I work hard, travel well. So if you're not already following me on there, definitely follow me there. Send me a message and I'll follow back. So I go live on there separately and different things, because it's hard to go live on YouTube and Instagram at the same time, because Instagram has the vertical format, whereas YouTube has that horizontal. So I like to kind of just do those separately. So I enjoyed definitely chatting with you all tonight, and I look forward to chatting with you next time. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you for the love and super chats. And I appreciate you all. So I'll check you all next time. Have a good evening.